Hi, we're the third grade team. It's May 30th, 2018. We're going to share our work and thinking around the Reading, Writing, Science, and Social Science Alignment document.
So we'll start with trimester 1. We start the year off in August with book 1, which is the Building a Reading Life. And in this unit, you set up the class culture and you're choosing just right books and reminding them how to choose just right books, and also helping them build stamina as they learn to read independently with their book baskets.
Okay, and around the same time, you'll be doing your writing, which is crafting true stories. And it's a narrative writing unit. And you'll be doing that, including a pre-writing and the forebends, and then doing a post-writing on demand.
For trimester 1 in science and history, social science, we have shown one way of breaking up these two content areas so that you're not, realistically, we weren't sure if you could teach both simultaneously. So we show one way of breaking this up. So you could start the year with history, social science framework, talking about what does it mean to be a good citizen, followed by what is the U.S. Constitution and why is it important. This includes talking about the 3 branches of government and also a possible activity of creating a classroom constitution for the year. This is followed by hopping over to science, starting with structures of life, with seeds and the life cycle of a bean plant. And then we went back to history, social science, talking about why did people first settle in California? What were the California landmarks that drew people here, and who were the first people in our community? Teaching about the Native Americans and the Chumash people.
And then right around October, you will be starting out the next unit, which is the mystery unit, the foundational skills unit for 3rd grade. And we have planned that would cover October and November. Or you could also put this unit in the spring. So it does pair nicely with the Building a Reading Life if you have students who need additional support in just kind of igniting their passion for reading, or if you want to move that into the spring and give them another little boost at that point in the year, it could work, because this unit can be pared down to about 3 weeks.
Around the same time in writing, if you're finished with, and when you finish your narrative writing, you're welcome to try the If-Then poetry unit if it works for your class. That's a nice unit that would pair nicely just around conference time to work on before you start the next unit in writing.
So we're at the end of trimester 1, and the next science unit is starting the water and climate with investigation 1, which is drops of water, drops on a slope. And we are skipping investigation 2 because that's covered in other grade levels.
And so then wrapping up that trimester, starting book 2 for the reading units, which is that Reading to Learn book, that we have scheduled from the last week of November, bridging across December and through January. And there are several options for integration here. We have looked at Bend 3, where you cover biographies, and there's a possibility to tie in the heroes that are mentioned in the social science framework. And just take note that this unit does bridge trimesters 1 and 2, so you need to take that into consideration with grading.
Okay, and also bridging the two trimesters is the writing. You'll start probably a little bit before December, maybe the last week of November. Start the Art of Information Writing with your pre-writing, and that will go through December and January. And you'll want to have the students take the on-demand at the end of that unit.
So in trimester 2 with science and social studies, we're moving on to history and social science now with how has my community changed over time, and continuing with the question of why did people move here. As you're investigating these questions, one idea given in the framework is to have your students take this question to their families and ask them, why did our family move to this area and when did that happen? And creating kind of a classroom family timeline of settlement here or moving here to the Central Coast or in California, and some stories to go along with that. Then in the middle of the second trimester, we go back to structures of life with the crayfish in investigation 3, as well as just the first 2 parts of investigation 4, which is human bones and the bone and dissecting the owl pellets, which has the bones as well.
And then right around February, the beginning of February, you would start book 3 for the reading units, which is the character studies unit. This is another reading unit that bridges the 2 trimesters. So this one bridges trimester 2 and trimester 3.
Okay, and for your third unit for writing, one idea is to do your pre-writing for your persuasive writing, to do a pre-writing asking the students to think about why it is important for students in our class to follow our classroom constitution. So if your class had created one at the beginning of the year as part of history and social science framework, then maybe they could write a pre-write about why they think it's important to follow the classroom constitution. And then you continue on with your persuasive speeches and unit. And then as a possibility for Bend 4, instead of using the cause groups, one idea to tie in social studies again would be to bring in the issues and my community, which is part of this social science framework. What are some important issues in my community? You could bring that in as Bend 4 instead of the cause groups.
And another possible tie-in that with that opinion writing is talking about weather and possibly talking about climate change, because that's our next science unit is water and climate, doing investigations 3, 4, and 5, which is all about weather, water, seasons, and climate. And that could be another tie-in to opinion writing. And on to trimester 3.
Okay, in trimester 3 for reading, we're wrapping up book number 3, that character studies book, and in April, starting book number 4, which is the research book clubs. And that will take the last 2 months of schools, spanning from April to the end of May.
And after you finish your persuasive writing, the next unit that we're doing is called the baby literary essay, also known as the mini literary essay. And this really piggybacks nicely after the character studies unit in reading and after the persuasive unit in writing, because it uses a lot of the same structure and ideas from persuasive writing, but you're using it around your character development from your work in reading. So it's a really nice way to connect those two and get them introduced to how to write a mini literary essay. And it's a very short unit.
So our final history and social sciences framework questions for the third trimester are, how can I help my community? And what issues are important to my community? So there's a lot of options here, and I'm sure everyone has even more ideas than we came up with, but one option would be to tie it into that opinion writing. Another option might be to tie it into reading unit 4 with the research clubs. Some of us found that a lot of our students had already read a lot about animals and maybe there's a possibility of tying in this community service idea to researching. One concern was finding books and reading material at the appropriate reading levels. So we're looking for ideas there. But thinking of a way to help our communities and service our community might be a nice way to wrap up the year with history and social science. And then our last and newest science unit will be the motion and matter unit, which is mostly all about motion. It includes working with magnetism and forces like push and pull, and some fun STEM stuff where they get to make carts and cars and whirly birds, and hopefully some fun hands-on things for spring.
And the last unit for writing is the Once Upon a Time Adapting a Writing Fairy Tale. And it's a really great way to revisit narrative writing, but with a creative twist. You read some fairy tales and they talk about how they could be adapted, and the kids really have a nice, great, they really enjoy writing these because it's a real creative outlet for them.
So thank you for listening, and good luck on your new year. And P.S., don't forget about math.